In this video, I'm gonna show you how to translate a website in Angular using the possible two approaches, using the pipe translate approach, or using uh, instant the instant method. These two approaches can be used according to your necessities. Okay, for example, in the first approach is this. You use it if you want to translate a content in the view. Okay, for example, this is an HTML file, and if you want to translate that content you are going to show in your view, you have to use this approach. The other approach is the instant method that you have to use when you don't need to present something in a view. For this example, I have this application that is running now. As you can see, it has different elements. It has a menu, home, books, authors. It's possible to navigate through these elements. And this is the part that is possible to translate, to change. Okay. If I click this button, it change the language, translate to Spanish. Okay. This is for name. This is for last name. Now, let's check the elements for this app. Okay. Uh, the first thing you have to do if you want to use this translation uh, technology, you have to install the necessary libraries. These are You have to execute these two commands: npm install the translate core, and the second command to install the HTTP loader. Okay. Now, next step in the app module, you have to import the libraries. The next step is to import the translate module with these elements. Okay. And another elements are the translation JSONs, and they have a JSON with the keys and values. These key and values are the key we are going to use to look for a specific word, and the value is going to be the translation. This is the file for the English language, and this is the file for Spanish language. As you can see, they use the same keys because this is the way how the application is gonna find the corresponding translation. We have name, last name, and in the same way in the English file we have name and last name. They are inside the I18N folder, and it is inside the assets folder. Next element where the translation is happening is in the home component. As you can see, I have the language variable. This is storing what is the language I'm gonna use. I have an import in the constructor. I'm using this is dependency injection, and this is the TranslateService object I'm gonna use to translate. I define the default language. It's gonna be English, and in the init method, I'm gonna use this method that is going to simulate that I'm getting values from the database. In this case, I'm getting headers from that I'm going to use to create or to translate to a specific language. This is the content I'm gonna translate. Okay, and I have this method change language that is executed when I click the button. Okay, in this case, when I click this button, this method it's executed, it check for the language variable and change it according to the value. And it uses the TranslateService object, and it uses this method used to change the language. That's the way how the pipe approach works. Now let's see the HTML code. It checks the header list. The header list is here. This is a list that stores all the values. Return in this case gonna store these two objects, and it's gonna present them on the view. Okay, and when I change, this is the button. Let's go for the button. Change the language, and that's the way how it works. And when I click this button, and it uses this this method, it uses the necessary file that has a coincidence with the name of the file. In this case, it's English or Spanish. That's the first approach. Now, the second approach is using the instant method, and you use it if you don't need to show any value that you want to translate. If you want to do everything in the TypeScript file, you have to use that approach. For example, if you want to use these headers names, you can, and you want to, for example, to generate a file and to send that file um, for email by email, you can do this approach, okay? Because you don't need to present those values on the view, okay? For that reason, I'm going to comment this code, because we don't need to show anything. We're going to work only in the TypeScript file. Okay, now I'm going to save here, and I'm gonna refresh here. Just wait for a second. Okay, it is compiling. Okay, now I'm in the same component. It says on works. It's the same I have here. Now let's back to the home component here. Now, if I want to translate this this content, I'm not gonna use get header from DB. Okay, I'm gonna use a different code. Have the block of code here. I'm gonna use these two lines. Okay, I'm gonna call translate language. What this method is gonna do is going to use the get header names from DB. It's going to get these values, and it's going to iterate those values, and it's going to translate each value, okay, modifying the element in the list, okay, using the instant method. Okay, now I'm gonna compile this, and we're gonna check the values in the console, because it's not possible to see the result in the view because we are not going to use the view. Everything is gonna happen in the TypeScript file or in the component. Okay. Now let's check here. Okay, I call the method and I lock the result in the header list. Now this is the result. As you can see, uh, it is showing the value that was generated. If you pay attention here, this last name, and we check the English file, we can see the last name doesn't have, or it has a space. We don't have that space here. Okay, it means that it's not using that file. It is just presenting the value that I send in as a parameter. Okay, in this case is name and last name. These two values, and last name doesn't have the space, and this is one of the reasons why the instant method can fail. Okay, and it is because it is trying to translate or it is trying to use the file, the JSON files, and they are not loaded. Okay, and we need to do something uh, to solve it. And what we have to do, of the code here, is to subscribe. We need to subscribe a method using the subscribe method of the Translate service. Okay, in the Translate service, we use the get method to connect to a specific key in the file. In this case, I use name. Okay, this is mandatory, and I use the subscribe method to subscribe this block of code that is gonna be executed when once the files are loaded. Okay, when they are loaded, 100% loaded, it's going to execute the translate language, and it's gonna to translate one by one, and it is gonna be using the translate uh, the transition file, the JSON. I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna check in the browser. Okay, have a little problem here. This is it's a little problem with that. Okay, let me check this. Okay, it's missed. Okay, okay, perfect. And as you can see, I have last name with a space. It means that um, the the program is using the translation file. In this case, it's using this JSON. Now, if you want to change the language, let me check here. Okay, like this. I'm gonna copy this here and to paste this here. Using this command, we try to change the language. But if you do this in this way, the change, is not gonna be detected. Okay, so in that case, you have to use the change. The change. You have to subscribe a method to the change and change language, or language was change. Okay, and you subscribe a method that is gonna, in this case, it's gonna call the translate language, and everything is gonna be translated to that language, that target language you want to use. Okay, now it is ready, and let's check in the browser. Okay, in this case, we subscribe the method, and then after that, I change the language to Spanish. It starts in English and it changes to Spanish. Now let's see English and Spanish. Okay, it is changing the language when I execute this line of code, and immediately it executes this block of code. So very important, use this subscribe methods to have your block of code ready to be executed um, without using the view.